All right, this is about the mental health. Well, you might know or you might not know that when you enter a mental health unit, they always ask you, are you hearing voices in your head? And stuff like this. And then they call you a whole bunch of names like bipolar, schizophrenia, all of this. All of this is non medical, it's non biological, it's all pseudo stuff. And actually, the psychiatry department is the gay community, and they're slandering heterosexuals, my friends. Okay, so they say, are you hearing voices in your head? Why are they doing that? Well, actually, the psychiatry department and the gay people, they hate Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe. Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe had a son. You might not know this. They adopted a son, and then they put a device in his ear that now can hear everything he thinks. So they can hear his voices, they can hear everything, all his thoughts. And then now they're attacking the whole public, saying to them, are you hearing voices in your head? And this is what the gay community are referring to, an attack to heterosexual people, actually the Queen's people in England. And that's what psychiatry is. It's basically the far right. They are Africans, about 98% Africans is the far right. They hate all the politicians, all the English people. Psychiatry is the gay community. They've got a device inside the brain of Elvis Presley's son, and this is how they attack the heterosexual world. It's completely defunct stuff. There is no such thing as schizophrenia. There are people who are anxious and depressed and some kind of anxiety problems, but they're not deserving a name schizophrenia, nor are they hearing voices. It's the psychiatry department, the gay people, they're killing people like that. So psychiatry is actually run by the upper classes, and they loathe the middle and working classes, and the upper classes, mostly the gay community. Certainly they run the gay community. Not all gays are bad, but these gays are then slandering the Queen's people, calling them all bunch of names. None of it is legitimate. I'm a trained psychologist, and I declare psychiatry junk. It's complete junk from criminals, in fact. And then they give you medication that really hurts you. So let's hypothetically say, take another situation, because it's a hospital that the psychiatry is in. So let's look at it from a surgical point of view. Let's say, for instance, there's something wrong with your heart, and then the psychiatrists come along and they say you've got schizophrenia of the heart, okay? And they would do this type of stuff. Let's have a look at psychiatry now for a second. So they're saying that your heart has schizophrenia. They then go and operate on it, give you loads of medication. They reduce the quality of your heart, and now your heart is running not at the rate that it used to. In fact, they've just attacked you, and it's a brutal attack that will last for the rest of your life. Essentially, they've destroyed and injured you. And that's how psychiatry runs with your brain. Right, with your personality, your character. So, for instance, myself have been slandered by the psychiatry department. They're constantly telling me that they're better than me, and that I'm very inferior. So now I walk out of the psychiatry department very, very depressed, with no self-esteem, completely depressed, and wanting to be homeless and hope somebody kills me, because that's a better situation. The only other people that treat me like that is actually the far right, okay? And that the psychiatry department is the far right. They've also, they're using only African staff in the London hospitals, for instance, just like Saatchi and Saatchi are also the far right. They run that TV advertising, and they are a completely blackening system. They intend to turn you all black, African black that is, and that's because the whole world is schizophrenic, according to these upper classes who are very naive and stupid gay paedophiles. The far right are known for seriously violent attacks. Let's look at ACME Demolition. That is actually run by the head of the psychiatry department, and they are the far right. They've been sending in their people to attack me all the time. Most of them are Africans, Lots of them are Category A prisoners. The prison community and Africans are psychiatry, and they're selling everyone else that's heterosexual. They're calling them bipolar. Schizophrenia is the common one. And then, are you hearing voices in your head? Well, this question is because of a device they have in Elvis Presley's adopted son, and they've got it in his ear that can hear his voices. And then when they say, are you hearing voices in their head, they're actually attacking Elvis Presley and calling him worthless, and then killing him too. So let's look further into the psychiatry department, how sickening and depraved they are. They're a gay paedophiles group. Pretty much the established people know that the Lawyer Society is a gay paedophiles group, the upper classes. They certainly all grew up in public schools where there's rampant underage sex going on, and it's all with boys. Okay, and they become psychiatrists. They become lawyers and doctors in your hospitals. They take all the good jobs there. That's the upper classes, and they are a non-medical group. They are Mr. Softy Hands. They're very bad medics. They don't know anything about biology really, and they are very asinine. So what they're also doing is they're making lots of child porn. Psychiatry is producing tons of child porn and then distributing this into people's living rooms, and then they're got a drug at the psychiatry department called Dipixel. So D stands for the white people, the Dutch name de Jong, and then Pix is the child porn that they're sending out, and then they're giving you an injection that completely disables you. So psychiatry is a criminal far right. Anyone who's involved in that needs to go to prison. Psychiatry needs to go to prison for distributing tons of child porn, which we all know is very illegal. And if you get caught distributing tons and boxes and boxes and boxes of child porn, you'll go to prison for a minimum of 15 years. If you're in that group, you'll get at least 7 years. So if you insinuate or show people that you're in this group that are distributing this porn around to kids at school that are also getting then sectioned and then depoted with a Dipixel, which is a medication, D-Pix, pictures. All right, so the psychiatry department is actually a gay paedophiles group. They also have a website called NAMBLA, which is Man Boy Love Association, and that's them, psychiatry. They're the biggest paedophiles the world's ever seen, and nobody incarcerates them for that. So if you're part of psychiatry and mental health nurse, you're also part of a gay paedophiles group, and you're promoting gay pedophilia and the death of heterosexual, there are no girls allowed group. And that's illegal. So psychiatry is making this child porn. They're making it in Ukraine, and then they're sending it to America and England. And literally thousands of people have been brutally killed in vigilantism. That's also organised by gay paedophiles, the upper classes, the Law Society and psychiatry. And they're making this porn. So anybody involved in the psychiatry department is essentially a child porn maker, and they also can be a victim because vigilantism is everywhere. How are you going to stop it? So if you're caught disputing and a part of that system, calling people bipolar and schizophrenia, which is additional and an extension to child porn making coming out of the Ukraine and psychiatry, then you're guilty, and that you can go to prison for that. Certainly the public want you in prison. So the gay community thinks in long term. So they make this child porn, and psychiatry then distributes that, and then they section people and can inject them with Dipixel, which completely disables you. It turns you into a zombie, and that's effectively murder because they then can keep you that on the rest of your life. That's how the upper classes are treating the Queen's people in England. That's the majority of the people, by the way. And then they also plan to, after making this child porn, to then send all the Queen's people out of the country where there'll be bare lands now, nobody living in England anymore, and they'll import all the Africans in, is what they plan. And anyone who's a part of that, well, you're very anti-British, you're essentially the far right, literally England hates you, and they have a fucking right to as well. Ukraine is running psychiatry with the upper classes, and they plan to box us all up and send us out after being injected with the pixel because of the child porn being produced by Ukraine, sent to England and America. And even though you haven't looked at child porn, you're still going to be shipped out. Okay, and the people doing that is the head of psychiatry. Is actually a family that I know, and one of them is called Ed Shaw, and one of them is called Noah. And that's psychiatry, and they're planning to ship all the Queen's people out of England after making thousands and thousands of child porn. So psychiatry is a child porn factory, end of story, and it's no girls allowed. It's only they are a gay paedophiles group. They're saying that that's legitimate and legal. And all those that are into women, females, they're all going to get shipped out, even if you haven't looked at child porn. It's just because you're heterosexual. So say goodbye if you're looking in the mirror. Okay, so here's some facts for you about psychiatry. Actually, the head of psychiatry, I know for a fact that they're making a whole load of homosexual child porn for themselves. Okay, so they're making child porn and child homosexual pictures. They're also beating up young boys that are saying no to anal sex with adult 50-year-olds with 7-year-olds. That 50-year-old beating that child up because he's saying no to anal sex, and that's the head of psychiatry. And they're sending out child porn, and they're planning to ship all the Queen's people out, feed them dog food, and put it into cargoes. And that's psychiatry. That's very illegal. Anyone involved in that, well, what do they deserve? Well, let's go and ask everyone else.